Hey, everybody. This is Cathy from the Lake Clear Lodge and Nutritional Energetics. And yeah, I hope you found us on YouTube. I usually do these on Facebook. So kind of doing a new format and hope you found us here. I am with Roberta Cuffin. Hey, Roberta.
Hi.
And we're talking about bioacoustics today. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Cathy Hohmeyer. My family and I own the Lake Clear Lodge, and it's more of a wellness type resort. In the wintertime, we do sleigh rides and kind of a speakeasy, a whole lot of fun, but always geared towards wellness at heart. And I've been creating a program that I call Nutritional Energetics, and it not only covers it sounds like nutrition, and I am a chef, but it's really not all about food. It's about food, frequency, and fun. And today I'm bringing Roberta on because I got involved with BioAcoustics, and Roberta was my instructor. Very lucky to have her. And I got involved with BioAcoustics. And on the one hand, for a very much part, story for later maybe, bioacoustics pretty much saved my life. So I'm pretty attached to bioacoustics and how you can look at the frequency of your voice and tell the state of your health. So that's what we're going to be talking about today in general. What is bioacoustics? What can it do for you? And at some point, we'll be touching on depression and anxiety, even not just something like something maybe you have a symptom of. Now, we don't diagnose or treat any disease, but we look at imbalances and frequencies and bringing your body to balance. So, Roberta. Let me read a little bit about her. Over 2 decades of research and teaching experience with bioacoustics and beyond, I would imagine. Sound health bioacoustics instructor and practitioner. Roberta's ability to make the complex simple, I can definitely vouch for that. And her genuine passion for guiding people to heal, find, and fulfill their purpose. She attracts high caliber clients and students from around the world. And I can definitely say Roberta cares about her students and her clients because a lot of us very much count on Roberta for many of our questions and everything. So anyway, what is bioacoustics? You must have that description a little bit down by now. I probably don't, but let us know what bioacoustics is all about.
BioAcoustics, by the way, hi everybody, glad you're joining us. BioAcoustics is taking the sound of your voice and finding the vocal biomarkers within that give hints and clues to what might be happening with the state of your body, including emotional issues. So Sherry Edwards, who is, I guess the acknowledged pioneer of bioacoustics 20 some years ago. She rediscovered a lot of this. That's really ancient knowledge, brought that back into the forefront of science, and many people are talking about it now, especially frequency medicine. It's the future. Even Tesla talked about that. So it's how we heal ourselves through our own voice. And we know how to do that, but somehow we've forgotten. So what Sherry did is she brought it into the 20th century by putting together programs that are able to look at certain anomalies in the voice that might be common with individuals that share the same issues.
So a little background too, if you want to hear even more about, I had this in, so I'm going to show it now so I don't forget. Roberta has even more stuff on Sound Health Radio. And actually, they played mine the other day too, which I was surprised about. I didn't know they did. But there's lots of different ways to find out about sound health and what we're talking about while we're starting on. So I just wanted to let you know that. And so Roberta, if I came to you with an issue and said, "Hey, can you help with, I've got, XY symptom," how would you go about saying, "Okay, Cathy, let's look at your voice"?
Okay, so if a client comes to me and gives me a call, and I can work with people remotely, some practitioners only work locally. I have clients actually all over the world that I deal with. And so what we would do, or what I do, is I go through a Zoom call with you to explain what we do, which I'm going to show you some of that today. And I have you buy a little microphone, which comes in this little case. It's kind of cute. And it's just a travel microphone. It's like $30. They raised the price, I think, a little bit more than that on Amazon. But this is all you need. And then we have you do a recording of your voice for 30 seconds using Audacity, which is a free software online. We help you set up with the parameters that we need you to have to give us the most vocal data that we need. And after that, you send in that vocal data or that vocal sample. We call it a voice print. And then we as practitioners are trained to look at that, what we call architecture in the voice, and identify what might be happening in that person's voice. So we have a couple of examples here that Cathy, maybe you could start showing.
Mm-hmm. Which one?
Show the different colored one.
Okay.
So you'll see the vocal sample here in a minute, but you can see it a little bit in the background, the blue. But what this shows you is some of the data that we're looking at, the initial data. So if you call me and I look at a vocal sample, I can tell you a lot of what's happening with you over the phone right then and there based on the architecture of that vocal sample. Again, it's only 30 seconds. It doesn't take you very long. And hopefully we as practitioners will be able to identify a lot of things that might be happening within your own state of being. So what this is it's predictive, is in the red. So what might happen if you don't take care of the state of your health, or what might be upcoming. And I like to think of that as the area of free will, because we have a decision. Our own choice is what determines whether or not certain things will happen. It's those epigenetic type factors. So that's in the red. Then in the green, that is the current or acute phase, potentially. And then in the blue is long-term. So anything maybe over 3 months that you've been dealing with. And it's not necessarily linear in time. It's just that that's where the data resides. So that doesn't mean that farther to the left was yesterday or is going to be, 3 days from now. And then maybe it's right this minute and then, tomorrow. It's kind of not like that, but that's gives you kind of a brief overview of how we determine what might be a chronic issue as opposed to an acute issue or something that's upcoming. All right.
And I was just going to give an example of the way that just something simple from what I like to do and what I started as kind of a beginner and interested in food and nutrition, because a lot of times the basic programs are nutrition and muscles. So it's really cool for me because I was an occupational therapist and I look at muscles and I look at, I'm a block therapist, so I look at fascia and muscles, and to look at just the basic nutrition and muscle programs and say, what am I low or high on now? And when I was kind of in crisis, that's what I did. I looked at, you can see in the, in the chart, we'll show you some more too. You can look at the ones that are, very high on the chart, very low on the chart. And I said, okay, what do I need now? Because even in the terms of supplements, which are very expensive if you have good ones, I never thought any of us needed any of those things. Everything you can get from food, but everybody kind of knows that food, you don't get the best nutrition from food. You're not getting the best nutrition from the way you're cooking or preparing food or getting food outside in other restaurants. No, but we do the best I can, but in a restaurant, it's really, really hard. So to get the best nutrition that you can, and supplements that you buy, something you might feel you need. I have a client that says, hey, I'm feeling really low. Can you do my voice print and tell me what I need? And in real time, we'll do that, and they'll know either what foods they should be eating, if we know more about foods, what supplements they might want to take right now, what might be really high on their voice print that we can kind of lower and balance. So just kind of a really quick like real-time example of the basic things that you could tell in bioacoustics.
Yeah, and one thing that we should mention first off too, we deal with frequencies, and one frequency can mean many different things because they're at different levels of the body. So you have a gene that might be at the deepest level of the body, but you might have like this emotion that's out here somewhere. So that same frequency can mean any one of those things: a gene, a protein, an emotion, a vitamin, a muscle, connective tissue, anything like that. And we work and we use different types of formulas based on what we're trying to get to in the body. So even though we may not know what that frequency represents, that's fine. The body knows. I believe God created that in a way that it heals itself. We're just giving it a little bit of a boost. And so as long as we give it the frequency that the body needs, it's going to balance it and take it in the area that it needs. Similar to what might happen with an aspirin, where you don't have to tell the aspirin where you're hurting. The aspirin just goes to the place that it needs it. The body is very smart that way.
Mm-hmm. So, Roberta, what's the difference in, like, you can go to YouTube and you can, blast whatever frequency you want, like 528 or 4, whatever. You can blast a frequency and that'll go, oh, this is very calming, or this is very soothing, or this is very balancing. How does bioacoustics different from all that? Hey, here's a frequency and go ahead and listen to it.
BioAcoustics uses all of the harmonics within the voice. So if you're just listening to a 528 or some of those other ones, that's going to give you some, benefit, but it's not going to be targeted to the level that you need. We're similar to Rife, but a little different. We work with sine waves mostly, so we're healing the body, not necessarily using it to break down pathogens, etc. But it's much more gentle on the body. We actually don't do it by binarily either, which many people do. Sherry has created a system that has the sound all together. So it's just a very unique way of approaching balancing the body.
Yeah, I find that I've done a lot of different energetic frequency work with numbers in lots of different ways. And then bioacoustics, like you said, we do it not just with one frequency, but with two. And what I found fascinating was you might take the one frequency that's low and the opposite that's high, and you get magic in the middle.
Yes.
And your body's magic in the middle. And that's what I love telling people. That this is very different than, just maybe analyzing and sending a frequency on its own.
Yeah, I love bioacoustics because, from my standpoint, being, a person of faith, it's easy for me to see how this beautiful world was created, with the word, with sound, and how that's the very thing that delivers our healing. And so when you have these two parts that kind of go together, I see that as, the duality. And so when we use that together, it does create magic. And because we're not forcing a decision, that's what I think of it as. When you're working with just one frequency, sometimes it just, in my way, and I always kind of relate things to the spiritual realm, I see it as maybe forcing something on somebody when really they might need the opposite to balance it out. So it's very easy for me to make that jump and to work with bioacoustics in that way. Not every practitioner does not work that way, but I have found the greatest success that way. So that's the way I work.
Mm-hmm. When you
And
look
that's the
at,
way
When I first started, you can print out reports like a mile long if you want to, and I could sit there and read those for hours. I like the detail of that. Some people will, don't want anything to do with that. They're just giving my tones. Let me listen to them. That's really great. I love looking at the detail. I was an occupational therapist, so I had a little bit of the science background in terms of the body, and I just find the body fascinating how it's put together. I mean, it is incredibly complex, incredibly amazing. And we obviously in bioacoustics that there's a lot of frequencies that are the same thing as something else. So our body has so many redundancies to work well, that anything that someone says, oh, you can't, you can't heal that way because your nerve is gone or something like that. To me, it's like there's so many roundabout ways to do it that it's totally amazing. And I could look at all those things when you do uh, an analysis, I guess you'd say, of somebody's voice. You can print out something for the client as well. But again, the other thing that I find fascinating is if you can have, something's low or something's high. If something's high, it doesn't necessarily mean we have too much. It means that we might need something to kick that in, and it's not getting utilized correctly. So the synergy of all this is just kind of crazy fascinating.
Yeah. And we try to educate our clients, each of us, because we are not licensed professionals, most of us, and we can't prescribe or diagnose or any of those things. We really want you to be your own self advocate for your own health. So we're able to give you clues on what might be happening in your body and how they may be interrelated. And that's really what I like doing for my clients. What are the things that are going together? For instance, if you can't open a jar very well because of your thumb might be weak, that is potentially related to zinc. You might need more zinc. So in your thinking, when you can't open a jar very well, then hopefully it's going to trigger you. Oh, I need to take some zinc. So the more we educate clients, the better that they will be with taking care of their own health.
Hmm. And the other thing that Sherry decoded, which I think is fascinating as well, as decoding the nutrients in the different muscle placements. We think about, okay, I'm going to take a bunch of vitamin C or a bunch of zinc, but we don't think about where it's going or where it has to live in the body basically to hang out so that it works well. I mean, I think that's totally fascinating that there's charts that you can look at, and like you said, zinc with the thumb or other things. That's really cool. As a former occupational therapist, looking at muscles and working with that, I think that is so cool to find out. So one way to help a client is to do the voice print, do the tones, but there's different ways with there's a few different ways to look at than just, like I said, there's the muscles. I'm just trying to think of different ways that this can work,
Let's
aside
go to
from.
let's go to the next slide
Okay.
here, and maybe we can show them some of, or bring that up while we're
The
talking about
coherence one? Or
yeah, the one that, yes.
okay.
So you see that here's an example of a vocal print. This is my own, taken this morning. And I can look at this voice and we can see that that gray area is the area of cohesion. So that's where you want it to be. Anything that's high is maybe indicative of too much of something. Maybe a biochemical or a vitamin you might be getting too much of it, or it might be not being utilized properly. You might have a muscle that's in stress. You might have inflammation, toxins, infection. So those are things that we can see on the high end. On the low end, muscle weakness, not enough of something. Maybe a gene is not being expressed like it should. What I have found as a practitioner is it's much easier to bring up the lows than it is to bring down the highs. And the lows many times have to do with blood sugar, and it will change after you eat. So those kind of will come and go a lot more quickly than the highs. So the highs, when you're looking, like if you go to the next one, Cathy,
Yeah.
I'll show you a little bit about this. So what I can see from this voice print, when I look at it. And of course, I know it's me. So at the very beginning there, you see all these humps that I put in there. Those humps are indicative of inflammation. So I know I've been dealing with a lot of inflammation, and we as healers are not very good about taking care of ourselves. So, but I do these quite often because I want to know, like, I want to be able to know what I need in case I have time to do it, and I want to be able to teach. So I use my own vocal prints to teach. And so I know I've got inflammation going on, quite a few humps there actually. There are these lows there, possible pain, areas of pain, where they will, just the type of architecture and the voice. We as practitioners are trained to look for that. There's some areas of infection probably in there that I see, which again, I've been dealing with. And also some nerve issues. So if I were to work with a client, I go through and I would pick out each one of these and show you as you're going through the Zoom call with me. And then I can say, this is the things that we're going to work on. This is what I see. Now, if you're high and you're trending high above that gray area, normally that's going to be methylation, blood sugar regulation, fatty liver, those types of things that are high. And really, I'm finding a lot of people, hardly anybody is in the area of cohesion ever. Some people are low, but I'm finding much more people, more people are high than low, and it's blood sugar, and mostly it's a lot of blood sugar regulation actually that I'm seeing more of. And inflammation. And right now I'm seeing a lot of issues like tooth infections, which is really interesting. So, and they don't necessarily go with the keynote, which is, there's frequencies in the world, in space, in outer space, and those have influences as they reach Earth. And Sherry, you can go on soundhealthoptions.com and look at the keynote, and that will tell you what frequencies might be kind of influencing us this month. I see trends, but they don't necessarily go with what's happening with the keynote. And I work with people all over, not just in my local area. So it has nothing to do with locality or the keynote. So it's interesting for me. So that's what we would look at as a practitioner. That's what we're trained in. If you decide that you want to become a practitioner, these are the sorts of things that you would look at and be trained to assess a client with.
And I'm just going to, since you kind of put that up, I'm just going to put this up again. This radio show on Blog Talk Radio talked about how to become a practitioner if you're interested in either how to find it for you and your family or to be actual practitioner and work with people. Yeah, like I said, sound is something that was used in the ancient world, and we've forgotten how to do it. And this is kind of bringing it into a different way to work with it. So yeah, really,
yeah,
really.
and just so people know, this is what we use. It's just, it's looks, very simple, nothing too fancy. We program it, and you just plug in your headphones and play it. So you're not able to program it yourself because you don't know the frequencies that you need. And that's what we're trained to do. Put combinations of frequencies together to help you. And this is also very tailored to you. It's not like some general playlist that you're going to get out there. That might have frequencies for everything. You don't know if that's really what you need. Maybe you don't need more of that. Maybe you need less of that. So that's what we do. We can come in and test. Even if you don't want to use sound therapy with us, we can certainly test whatever approach you're taking to make sure it's working or not.
And I've even used it towards more energetics and energy work, or just straight out food. What should I be eating? So it really has a lot of applications. Even if you're not listening to the tones, you can use it as an adjunct to a lot of other things that you're doing, and use it kind of as a monitor too. If you're doing something else.
And I do a lot of emotional work with my clients, and sometimes, we need to be better about letting our clients know that they can experience emotional release with this type of work, and sometimes it can be intense. That's very rare, but it can happen if somebody's been working on that already in their own life. So, yeah, I've had some really great success stories with that. And I always like to test. That's something I let my clients do, be my guinea pigs, and they just love it. So, yeah, I think we all need to be better practitioners at anything we do, whether it's bioacoustics or, nutrition, anything.
So not only looking at the body per se, but you've worked a lot. Like I said, you like to do emotional work and such. And we're going to try and touch on depression and anxiety, because I just am hearing that from everybody right now. So if someone was anxious or had depression, how would you take a look at them and maybe
Yeah.
give them tones to help?
The easiest thing, actually, for me, I think depression is actually a very, it seems fairly simple to help with. And I don't want to minimize that at all, because I have family members that deal with that. And that's one of the reasons that I know that it helps so quickly, because I've tested this. But just looking at nutrition, if they're low, so if you can do this on your own without even needing us, okay? If you're a practitioner and you see a client is low in amino acids, B vitamins, and vitamin D. Now, I'm not a doctor, this is just my experience. If they're low in those three things, amino acids, vitamin D, and B vitamins, that is many times affecting their mood. So if you can supplement, your mood may change the next day. And I have had that happen with clients more than one. If I see that they're dealing with depression, that's the first thing I look for. And if they need that, then I tell them to go and get that right away. And immediately their mood is better. I would suggest that you be a little careful with the amino acids, because those tend to build up. We see it bioacoustically. They build up in the system. So maybe every 2 days, every 3 days after you get that mood regulated. So I think a lot of depression is biochemical, and we're not getting outside. We need to be outside, not on our phones, not on our TV, not on games, not working 24/7. We need to be outside in the sun. We need to, just exercise, all of those things. So that will help us to, eat good foods. But we're not going to get all the nutrition anymore, unfortunately, in what we're eating now. It's so depleted. So that, I think, is an easy thing. If it's really bad and that doesn't help, and you want us to help you, then we are able to look at other things within the body that might be affecting that as well. And then we give you frequencies that will help support the body and bring that back into homeostasis.
I was going to tell a little bit about, it wasn't necessarily anxiety or depression, but I had some pretty interesting heart issues all at once. They came on all at once. So I was just going to give an example of myself. Came on all at once. And I know that the body knows what it needs to do for the most part, if it's given what it needs. So I thought, well, I'm going to go with that premise right now, because I want to. That was my choice. And I said, I'm just going to do the tools that I have. And one of them was BioAcoustics. So again, I mean, my heart literally felt like it was doing somersaults, and I would like shift over on the couch. That's how crazy it was. And I looked at the heart template, because there's different templates within BioAcoustics that we can look at, just not really overall, but we can look at some things very specifically, look at overall, but then look specific as well, like heart, or what is one, pancreas or liver. We can look at different things combined with different things, and practitioners will also approach things very differently. So find one that you are interested in working with. And I just went and looked at what I needed nutritionally, what my heart was doing. And I just kind of looked at the highs and lows and figured out for myself what tones I wanted to do and what foods I wanted to create. And then just looked at the progress of things that were really, really high and really low, coming back into cohesion and feeling myself normalize out. So again, that's just a example of my own, of saying how I've used bioacoustics for myself, and it just kicked in. Roberta is on every week. We do 2 hours of updates and education and try and keep up with it. It is so very cool and so very can be complicated as far as deep as you want to get into as a practitioner. There's just the learning is really endless because we're made up of millions of frequencies, and we're just starting as a species to figure out how these frequencies all work together. But we can actually do that to help balance us out, essentially. So do you have any examples, Roberta, that you can think of that you want to?
Oh, wow. I have a lot.
Yeah.
One of my first clients, this was great. The very first client that I took, I'm in Washington State. They were in California, and this person loved to wear high heels, and she hadn't been able to wear high heels in years. Couldn't work out anymore because her feet were hurting her so bad. And after the first week of doing the frequencies, she wrote me and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I've been able to wear high heels for the first time in years." And I think she said she worked out, was able to work out with her husband too. And she was so excited. And I love stories like that. And then later on, I had someone that had gout, and oh my goodness, I should have sent pictures of that. I'll put them up on my website at some point. But just so swollen. And just after a couple days, the swelling was completely gone. So it's things like that, mood, heart. Like one client had the best blood pressure they had seen after doing the frequencies, increased attention span, memory, doing that. Parkinson's, that was one of my first ones too. And one of the reasons I got into this, because I had a close friend, he's passed now, that had Parkinson's, and he had Parkinson's probably at that point for maybe 10 years, maybe closer to 15. And he had just started to have problems walking. And it hadn't been that long, like a week, he had problems walking. And I decided, can I try these out? And they were all excited because these are my peeps. These are people that I've been with for my Bible study classes for a long time. And so they really pushed me on this. And so he was able to get up and walk without being stooped over or any pain for the first time in a week. And I mean, it was just to be able to help him. It was just so great for me. And it's people like that, that are just in crisis. That's usually when they come to us, when they're in crisis. And there's so many people in crisis right now. So it's, we want to be able to help everybody. And, none of us know everything. We do have cases that are really difficult. And some people are very sensitive to frequencies, unfortunately, and we have to go much slower. And but one other thing that we do, that we work with, and anxiety kind of goes along with depression too. We certainly can help with that. And there was a lot of people. I had people calling me from Australia right after COVID, and that were medical workers. They were, after they had gotten the shot, they were just so scared. They didn't know what they were going to do, and they were starting to feel bad. So, you want to help all these people. So it's just, I was going somewhere with that, and I kind of lost my train of thought, but yeah.
But yeah, you can help everybody all over the world too. So it used to be it had to be kind of with a practitioner. Now, of course, there's different ways of doing things. So like Roberta said, she has clients in Australia. I have some different areas of United States. So you can get online, you can have your voice recorded, or you can send, or if you have a good way to, we try and get the best quality voice we can. If you have a way to do that, you could send it to a practitioner, and then they could do the analysis. And then from whatever standpoint that they approach it, they could say, here's what things look like. Here's what we might do in terms of bioacoustics and frequency equivalence. And, we don't really ever talk about, we talk about symptoms and we talk about balancing. And we just want to see things be better. And you can see that in, in real life. You can tell if it's working or not, depending on what you're kind of looking at. So yeah, it's a really cool way to help people, especially right now, Roberta. And I always tell you this when we talk about this, the way that, we used to run to the medical establishment, and now whether we are with it or not so much, it's very my husband has eye issues, and we were trying to find an eye doctor just to get an eye test and visual acuity, and it was next to impossible. We have to go a couple hours just to a specialist to make sure his pressures, they'll test his pressures, and we'll see what they are, but trying to get medical help, and God bless the the emergency medical folks and everything else that helps us get there. But right now sometimes it's just hard to do it on your own or get to a medical person. So bioacoustics is something that you can do either in the meantime or alternative, whatever your choice is, to take a look at what might be going wrong energetically and frequency wise, and see if you have options to kind of reconnect that balance in your body of whatever is going on. So
And maybe calm you down. Maybe you are assuming that something's wrong with you. I have
right.
clients like that. I think I have, something.
Yeah.
You don't know. Let me test it. And we can
Mhm.
test a lot of different things very specifically and find that in your voice. So, the frequency equivalent, say, of ATP, we can look to see if that's out of balance in your vocal print. And maybe you don't need anything for that. Maybe it's something else that's affecting it. So, we have some exciting things that are happening just, at least for me as a practitioner, uh, is working with some doctors that that want to know what your tests can reveal. And if you
Mhm.
have a doctor, a chiropractor, some of these people, you can take what we have to them and they could potentially use it. Now, most of them don't know what it is or how to use it unless we explain it well. And even then, I don't even know if they would believe it. Most of them probably don't. And if we can help take care of your issue without having to go to the chiropractor or, your nutritionist or whatever that is, they're not necessarily going to work with us. So I've tried that, but
Mhm.
we do have a lot of practitioners that use this as an adjunct to their other practice, whether they're
Mhm.
a doctor or chiropractor, um, massage therapist.
Mhm.
So you don't just have to be a bioacoustic practitioner solely, like I am. You could do like what Cathy does. She has a gamut of of things, but I really love this work, and I want to be able to work with people that we can test what we have to make it more accurate. And
Mhm.
I'm doing things like that always on the side, and that's what just brings me joy,
Mhm.
being able to just become just the best practitioner that
Mhm.
we can be.
And help sometimes in the little ways, but also in the big ways, but sometimes just the little ways that really makes a difference. Now you were talking about, going to a chiropractor or whatever. I have a client who goes to a chiropractor, and we look at the voice print and see what's happening. And then they'll go to the chiropractor and I'll say, okay, what'd they work on? And they'll tell me what he worked on. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds familiar. And it is so synchronistic, right down to the area of the spine or the muscle that's stressed. And I just look at it and kind of smile because, like you said, sometimes it's hard to work together with that. And my dream is to have, a really integrative health practice. I mean, I love working with energetic practitioners, with people like chiropractors and people maybe more on the science side, and have all the parameters brought in. I remember as an OT, I worked at Strong Memorial Hospital in the spinal cord section, and it was quite the thing to see. But also, the greatest thing from that was they brought in the doctor and the occupational therapist and the nurse and the nutritionist, and everybody had a meeting and said, "This is what I'm doing with everybody. How do you see it?" I mean, that's my dream for the future. Really, is to have people working together like that, because it really takes a village to combat everything we're working with right now. And yeah, bioacoustics can really target it a lot. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
had, my stepfather was really ill for a couple years, and Kathy knows that. I was working so diligently because he was really, things were pretty touch and go for a while. And I am convinced that bioacoustics kept him alive.
Mhm.
And just he was having kidney problems because of, being on experimental medication for his rheumatoid arthritis, which caused a lot of other complications. And doctors aren't really good about telling you what might be upcoming, right? They'll say you're fine until you're not.
Mhm.
So he could have probably, been doing things or even gotten off that medication if things were starting to happen before they, went too far. But I
Mhm.
was lucky enough because he's a veteran. In some miraculous way, I had one of the doctors out at the VA that was willing to work with me. And he was like, "You do whatever you can." And so we would kind of collaborate. I would tell him what I was doing. And it was a great partnership. Now, he's still going strong, 4, years later. And he is in dialysis now, unfortunately, but he feels good. And he still does his frequencies and he loves them.
Mhm.
My mom does too. They're
Mhm.
they are strong believers in this.
Mhm.
That's another good one. My mom, who's in her 80s now, she was going to go to her. She had a Christmas party for her senior, for her high school, right? So a sort of reunion. And the day before she fell in the snow, I think she fell down on her back, flat on her back outside. And she was in so much pain. She said, "I don't think I'm going to be able to go." And I said, "Mom, let's try these frequencies." I had just started and we tried them. By the next morning, she had absolutely no pain and she was able to go to her thing. And I mean, that's the sort of thing I just love,
Mhm. Yep.
that sort of reaction. I mean, you don't always get that quick of a reaction with people
Mhm.
because some are long-term issues.
Mhm.
And you just have to go a lot more slowly and purposefully. But I love it when you can just like things just click into place.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure we could talk for hours here, Roberta. Hopefully, we gave people an overview of what they can do and what they can see. So, I put up Roberta's contact information. People can also contact me here at the Lake Clear Lodge, or I don't think I have um, my email up there, but it's Cathy at lakeclearlodge.com, Cathy with a C. And you can find out more at Sound Health Options. You can take a look at that. Uh, and we've just touched on just a few things that bioacoustics, I want to say, can get into or take a look at for you. Again, it's an amazing. I just love looking at I go do my voice print and see where I'm at and go, oh, look at that. And sometimes I find things that I didn't realize. And sometimes I find things that I went, oh yeah, my toe hurts or something like that. But it's so amazing. So Roberta, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
coming
Thanks,
on,
everybody.
and yeah, and I don't know if you want any last words, anything else you think people should know about sound health?
Yeah, I think that if you have any interest in it, talk to Cathy. I'm happy to answer any questions too. I I'm happy to do a Zoom session to show you what it's all about. Do have people I work with too, besides just Cathy, and you can find us all on my website. And if you want to become a practitioner, that's something very fun. It's not for the faint of heart, but it is very rewarding. And as we go forward, I just want to encourage everyone just to work together. Look for people that you can partner with, whether it's this or something else.
Mhm.
Be kind to each other. Hum. You can do
Yeah.
that to help
Yes,
yourself.
yes, yes, of course.
Um, and uh, and we actually can use a hum to tell you what's happening right at that moment, what your body needs. So if we can do that, imagine what you could do on your own, just
Mhm,
singing.
mhm,
And they've tried to silence us. So you can help yourself in very small ways. Going outside, do something fun and get out of the rat race. That will bring your anxiety down. It will help you be more happy, make you feel better. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah. Well, thanks,
Thank
Roberta,
you.
and, yeah, thanks for being in my world, because it
Yeah,
certainly changed
thank
my
you.
life being in bioacoustics, and, yeah, we hope to hear from everybody, and, stay nourished, everybody.